Hey, welcome back. We're going to take a look at some Pokemon Mystery Dungeon music, which personally I would consider myself a fan of Pokemon. I did grow up with the series. I really love all the games, but I really didn't play past the first 3 or 4 generations, so I'm kind of out of the loop for a while. But as far as the sort of generation that these games are from, um, I think I have a lot of exposure to what existed before then, and I always wanted to play the Mystery Dungeon series, but I haven't yet. In fact, it's kind of very soon on my list of what I want to play next. I do go back and play a lot of things from older generations, or things I missed when I was growing up. So I have a huge interest in actually playing these games, but I haven't yet, and I haven't heard any of the music, firsthand or otherwise. But I definitely hear people talk about it being really great. So I thought I would take a quick search, just like I did with the last video for Fire Emblem Awakening, see what people seem to say is one of the best tracks from it, and just gonna check it out. It's a 4-minute track, and I've absolutely no idea what to expect. I don't even fully remember. I think this is a DS game. I don't think it would be Game Boy Advance. I'm guessing it was on the regular DS, so it's probably going to be a little crunchy, but I do like that. I like that kind of compressed crunch. Um, Actually, like, I know it reduces the fidelity, but it actually sounds pretty satisfying to me. Um, well, actually, I like the background on this video with the little the notes and the little patterns. That's a really lovely background pattern. I wonder if that's like the official soundtrack, like for like a cover or some kind of official material for it, or if someone made this themselves. Because either way, whoever did it, like, that's such a great idea for repeating pattern. I really like it. Maybe I'll steal that for a pattern to use for something, or at least just that concept. But yeah, I have literally no idea what this will sound like, what type of track it is. I'm guessing it's a battle track. I mean, yeah, like, duh, it says fight, but I don't know. I'm guessing it's either going to be a regular battle or like a boss or even a final boss from the game. Of course, I know who Dialga is with Palkia. I did play that generation of games. Yeah, no clue what it's going to be. Let's check it out. As usual, I'm probably going to pause a lot, but maybe not if I just don't have a lot of thoughts. And I'll make a chapter break here so people can skip to the action, but let's take a listen. And I'll switch to this scene. Ooh, I like that harmony. A little bit of rhythm. Okay, for a battle theme, it's giving some time for this build-up without getting too energetic right away. It's actually kind of light. Okay. All right, I can't help it. It's I know people have different opinions on whether they like to see like a whole lot of stopping and analysis versus listening all the way through and just getting sort of a passive like background reaction. It's hard for me not to want to stop a lot at the beginning, just because oftentimes the intro is trying quite hard to like be something that hooks you, or it's something a bit more unique. Something really stands out in an introductory section. It's also, of course, like the whole track is fresh, so there's more thoughts. And I like to kind of try to look at it before it jumps into the real meat of the piece of music, because that kind of like is going to be a much bigger section with more repetition and better to look at on its own. So right away, yes, definitely has like that kind of crunchiness, which again, I love. I am so into just like getting enveloped in this aesthetic. Like, there is absolutely an aesthetic to I don't always want to call it retro game music or like chiptune or whatever. Like, I don't think you need to have a like limiting category name for like a genre or style, but just like, especially ones that were limited by the technology. I actually think it creates a really great aesthetic. So like, I love that. What I do want to mention before I go and peek again at what this intro was, is that so far I immediately got a sense, even as it transitioned fully into what seemed like the core of the battle theme, is that I said it when it was playing, but there's like a lightness to it. Like, even when it seemed to launch into the like brought in a little bit of that percussion to bring in this more rhythmic sense, which is of course like a huge staple in making music sound like it works for battle. And having this kind of energy or pacing that helps, support the fact that like the way your brain and potentially your hands are working in a game is meant to have a little bit more motion. In this case, like it brought in that rhythm to have that battle feel, but it kept it very light still. Like there's still lightness to the instrumentation, still space. It still didn't sound too serious or dark or heavy, which you might expect for like, yeah, it seems implied this is like a boss battle. Usually those are the most serious. But what I really like immediately, just on some assumptions of my own, is that first of all, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is not that like intense a game, like atmospherically. I have overheard from people talking about it that there are things like narratively that are maybe more interesting or emotional than people might assume from the outside, and that is part of why I'm rating them pretty highly to give a shot someday. I've overheard some great stuff like that. There's some surprising quality there. So it's not that it's not going to have emotions or intensity in ways, but it's that still like as sort of a spin-off, as a Pokemon thing, like, yeah, it seems right that it doesn't try to go too hard into being too dark, even as a boss battle theme. But even more so, like it's just the name Explorers of Sky. Like, yeah, I know about like the naming conventions for the series, and it's Explorers of X, and it, uses different terms just like the Pokemon games. But even still, like, just regardless, it's an evocative, like, when this got into the core of the music, as I'm sure we'll hear lots more when I get back to it, it almost sounded like how I would compose something that was it was just like write a piece called Explorers of Sky. Like, be like, yeah, this is like, there's a good chance that I would write something that sounded like this for people exploring the sky. Like, it just has that feeling. And you could probably find other games that have a similar feeling, like music in maybe Zelda Skyward Sword when you're exploring the sort of sky islands, stuff like that. Like, there's just an airiness, like there's an activity to it, again, from that battle side. But yeah, anyways, I know this is probably way more talking than most people want, but hey, if you're here for it, I'm happy to. I love going deep into things like this. So we get these woodwinds in. It's almost like not a cowbell, but like, it's an interesting choice of like a percussion there. I don't know what I would say exactly that is, but it's cool. I didn't even notice that the first time. And that harmony it goes down to here is actually really, it's a lot more interesting than it seems at first. Although it did catch me as well, like right here. That one, I don't know, it just sounds really satisfying. Brings in a little bit of the rhythm section. I love the immediacy of that kind of drum sound. It's not trying to recreate like that timpani sound, that grandness. It's actually like recreates a very like close, everyday like drum noise, which again keeps it like they're preventing it from straying too far into sounding too heavy by intention. Again, it's Sky. Like, even a serious track, like, I think this is just a perfect way to do it. And I know there's so much to say for like 30 seconds of music, but I do think a lot is contained in the way a track is introduced, in the very opening of it, and the way it first establishes like what this music is. I do think sometimes like front loading, a lot of stuff ripe for analysis is front loaded in a piece. It's an interesting effect. Get that synthy sound. God, I love that percussion little pattern it's got. It's really addictive. love this woodwind melody. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Really satisfying. It on the repeat of that melodic section, it closes out differently harmonically and just really satisfying. I love this woodwind melody with the little turns, little ornaments. Is classic kind of writing for that, but there's a reason why it just sounds great. Love the little horns again, kind of like I mentioned with the drum, sort of like sample, for lack of a better word, earlier. That kind of instrument noise. Some of the horn sounds here are again like very like immediate and like normal sounding. Like they're not really trying to recreate like a brass section of an orchestra. They're not trying to reach for really recreating like a symphonic sound, which would be fine to do in lots of really great like, you know, Game Boy and DS kind of tracks that are very compressed, actually sound awesome, like with that, you know, crunching down an attempt to sound symphonic. But again, the lightness that comes from like not trying to recreate that, I actually really appreciate. There's like a simplicity of some of the instruments used, but this rhythmic pattern with the drums that it's doing is like really addictive, and I love the woodwind melody, and the synth kind of comes in, supports it a bit. I think I'm tempted to say flute melody, but you know, when it's like so limited with the way the sound can be, you can't always jump to full conclusions about like knowing what instrument things are supposed to be. It's not necessarily that clear. So sometimes I like to just refer to things as the instrument like categories. Like clearly it's a woodwind, and it's probably meant to like parallel like a flute, and maybe if I knew my woodwinds better I would be more confident, but regardless, that melody is actually really catchy, and when it does this repeat it does a great harmonic shift, I'm assuming into another section, maybe developmental. Is it right here, I think? Yeah, so satisfying. Oh, it goes back to the melody again. Nice little counter melody in the back. Looks like an accordion. Damn, that's up there. Nice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, this is also good. I don't even know that much to say about it, but it's just, I love how this track is progressing. I feel like it's building some tension and interest and like these little climaxes, which is great, you know, keeps you engaged and like kind of hungry to see what's going to happen in it, which also feeds your hunger to see what happens next in the game. It, you know, has a sort of synergistic effect with your actual psychological experience as you're playing. It's always a great, you know, purpose of music is to, again, like it's you know, they're not separate creations. The game and the music are not separate. I mean, occasionally, or maybe more than occasionally, maybe often, they are created sometimes, you know, independently. The composer is contracted and like, you know, brings music and it gets integrated. But, you know, very often not the case, especially with older games where sometimes the composers were just like people who worked on it, or they're more close with the technical team and the programming. So, you know, the impact that music has on your gameplay, even if they're not actually dynamically integrated, is like, you know, there's a reason why they want to create a certain feeling beyond just the musical experience. But yeah, it brings in a lot of different elements, and it's pretty satisfying. Yeah, it drops off a little bit more instrumentation here, right here. Yeah, slightly different melody up there, but it goes really high in the treble. And, you know, peaks a bit like in the melodic arc, but it also like drops off instrumentation. Again, it keeps that lightness. It's keeping space, keeping that feeling of sky. Yeah, and I guess I would call this a developmental little section. I love that. Still using in the background. Yeah, nice. to call what it does right here, like that little ramp up. I don't know what to call it. I could call it an upwards glissando, whatever. I do like the fact that like they oftentimes like finish up a sort of climactic build leading into the next section with that sort of scoop or glissando up, but that it feels like they keep doing it on different instruments, and I also really appreciate that. Like they could always lean on the same thing for that effect, but it's oftentimes occurring in a section where the instrumentation's a little different, and it feels to me, I could go back and check, but that's okay, I'm already analyzing enough here. If it at least feels to me like every single time they've done the same thing with a different instrument to help close off that climactic build and usher in with energy the next change. And I just think that's really cool, like just to say like, oh yeah, we want to do this, but like let's mix it up every time, and then it makes it sound cool and a bit different each time, because it's kind of a unique effect applied to different instruments. And they're layering a lot of effects, not effects, but a lot of different instruments. I love that percussion. I love that drum rhythm. A little bit of kind of a gallopy, sort of running feeling. Back to the really memorable melody. I could see this being such an earworm when playing the game. Although if it's just like a final boss, maybe you don't hear it enough. Ooh, yes. Okay, this change in the flute melody, I don't think it did this before. Again, maybe I should just go back and compare, but I feel like sometimes I get lost trying to find the exact point where something happened before. And I don't really want to waste too much time like hunting around and keep progressing through the track. But yeah, I feel like this flute melody here, that it did something different here before closing off the section with that harmonic shift, and it's again really satisfying. This. Yeah, we've reached here again. Of course, that one's the same, because it's the same section. We're hitting the loop. Fade out into the loop. I saw there were some other like sort of like remastered versions, or even like one that said lyrics. I'm kind of curious, but I try not to peek at anything that I'm seeing for the first time, because I don't really want to be spoiled at all. Like I want to be really surprised like the moment I start a track. So yeah, it's a 4-minute piece. There's a few different sections, but like I mentioned near the end, I feel like if this was something you heard quite often in the game, like if this was one of the main themes that you get in the game world, I would think that this would be like a huge earworm. Just like those flute melodies are something that I think would be really catchy. Like I'm sure I would like be really nostalgic for and like associate closely with the game and its experience. On the other hand, I kind of get the sense this is like a boss or a final boss, which then I feel like you might not hear this enough for it to become that like super memorable earworm, and you just get to enjoy it really for that fight. And then of course like fans who go back and listen to it can like learn to really love it, but you might not recall it that much. And there's some other games I know that has happened with, where there's like the community or people who are fans of the music specifically, become obsessed with and really find memorable like some of the final battle themes. But for a lot of people who played the game, like they get through it, they play the final battle, the music gives them like the emotions and the energy that make it a really satisfying experience, but then they don't necessarily remember it because they heard it once. So I'm kind of curious if anybody's played this. I wonder if this is something that you do just hear once in like a final boss and then you maybe didn't recall a lot yourself, or if this is something you hear more and becomes really memorable. Because yeah, it's catchy as hell. Like it's really effective, and it's pretty much right on the money for like what I would find really memorable and catchy from a game I've played, and still would today. Like not just if I played it as a kid, but if I were to have played this recently or play it soon, this is the type of track that it would stick with my brain for a while. It's ultimately like, of course, like melodically, it's like not complex, but it does have like the sound it gives with the combination of instruments, the sort of layering it does. I talked about it maybe a little too much at the start, but I think it really like sticks to an airiness, even as it's trying to be, a battle theme. Like it's having some intensity, it's adding some like, repeated little climactic motions. It's keeping energy from the percussion, but it's doing it in this light, airy way. It's really seems like Sky. And yeah, it honestly just makes me look forward to playing this or other games from the series. Yeah, I think it was this one, Explorers of Sky, or one of the other ones that were like sort of the best recommendation of where to start. And yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to doing that. Hopefully within the next year, I get to break into the series. I'm really into retro handhelds now, and I would really like to play it on one of those. Although if it's a DS game, I may just have to pick up an actual DS. Because I did try to use a retro handheld for one of those. Played Fire Emblem Echoes, and it worked fine. It was great. I enjoyed the game, but yeah, I'm kind of interested in actually getting a DS again and using my copy there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next piece of music.